This
with us today.
conference will now be recorded.
Thank you so much for joining us here, Jordan with Renville County Economic Development. Today we're going to walk through our CARES Act grant applications for both business and nonprofit. What we did is put together basically a sample for both the applications, sample applications for those that we'll walk through. And then at the end, if anybody has any Q&A, I guess if you do it during this as well, feel free to fire away on that, and we'll answer your questions as best we can. So why don't we just get started with the for-profit grant application. I'm not going to read through this all word by word, but we'll just kind of hit some of the high points. And again, if you have questions, let us know. So number 2, the eligible applicants that we have there is all for-profit businesses must be a Minnesota business physically located in Renville County, Minnesota. Applicants may include nonprofits. We'll talk about that. You could be a corporation, a partnership, an LLC, a sole proprietor, but must be set up, and we will be checking with the Secretary of State verifying that your certificate of good standing we can print off the Secretary of State's website, so no need to put that in. Must be in operation prior to January 1st of 2020. If there was a change in ownership, that is okay. Just make sure you note that. Let us know what the situation is on that. Again, must be in good standing with the Secretary of State. The business must be current on their property taxes as of July 15th of 2020. And we'll be checking with our office across the street, making sure that the business is current if they do own property. You must be in compliance with all local, state, federal rules and regulations. Applicant must demonstrate that they were directly and adversely affected by COVID-19 and the related peacetime emergency. One big thing that we're a bit concerned about is the duplication of funds. So we'll get into that a little bit more detail down the road. But if you received grants from any other organization, be it from your city, be it a state grant, some federal grant, and whatever you receive those funds for, you're not eligible, basically not eligible to double dip. You can't receive grants for the same expenses. So we'll go through that again a little bit more. And then the minimum grant application is for $250 worth of eligible expenses. The ineligible businesses for this are corporate chains and multi-state chains. Businesses that primarily sell pawn merchandise, tobacco, or vaping products. Businesses that primarily generate revenue from gambling, and businesses that generate any part of their income from adult-oriented activities. Businesses that derive income from passive investment, such as business-to-business transactions, real estate transactions, property rentals, property management, billboards, or the ever-popular lobbying industry. Home-based businesses, with the exception of childcare, are precluded, as well as agricultural businesses that derive the majority of their income from the raising of crops and or livestock. Eligible grant uses, operating capital to assist with businesses self-sustaining over the long haul, and funds cannot be used to replace lost revenue. Other considerations, again, must be in compliance with the government regulations. The Renville County HRA EDA reserves the right to limit the amount of funds available for this program and amend the program at any time. Conflict of interest for board members and employees of the county. Grant conditions down to number 7. No more than one grant is available per applicant, regardless if the applicant has more than one location within Renville County. The maximum grant, I should say, for for-profit businesses is $7,500. Renville County in this grant program for-profit businesses has a pool of $400,000. We've set the maximum grant at $7,500 in an effort to assist as many businesses as possible. For nonprofits, the maximum grant is $5,000, and our grant pool for that is $50,000. So the maximum grant for nonprofits is $5,000. And we have separate forms, and we'll go through those here in a minute. Actual grant is going to be based on dollars available. There is no application fee or cost. No payments are going to be required for this if you are in compliance with all the rules and regulations. Grants are non-transferable without the approval of Renville County HRA EDA board. Grantees must provide with periodic updates, provide us with periodic updates of the performance of the business. Applicants must provide their IRS form W-9 with their application. Documentation of costs associated with COVID-19 business interruption through the county's eligible expense worksheet, which is further down the app, and we will go through that. Again, no duplication of funds. We touched base on that a little bit earlier here. Renville County reserves the right to deny funds and terminate the agreement program if a grant applicant is found to be in violation of any of the terms and conditions of this grant. And all grant applicants shall indemnify, save, and hold harmless Renville County, our Renville County HRA, EDA, its boards, committees, employees, consultants, and anyone acting on their behalf. So for submitting the application, it's on our website, which is renville.com. You can download it, fill it out, email it to us at grants@renvillecounty.mn.com, or you can put it in the mail to us, paper mail. If you want to drop it off, we advise you to call ahead, make sure somebody's here, and we'll meet you to do that for that situation. And then all applications must be received by 4 o'clock on Friday, September 11th. So that is the rules and the regulations. Any questions on that before we move on? Hearing none. Stephanie, did I send over to you a filled out application? Is this it? Because I believe I filled one out that we would go through with as a dummy. Stephanie? Sorry, folks, little technical difficulty here. Sorry, I'm not able to hear you, Stephanie. All right. Is it possible to share my screen, Stephanie? If so, I am going to all right, we're going to share the screen. There we go, friends. Apologize for the technical difficulties on this. So we've got an example grant application for a for-profit business. This is Stu's Pizza. My good friend Stu Jeffries, we're going to use him as a dummy model. And Stu's Pizza is set up as an LLC, I should say, and filed with the Secretary of State, so we can pull that information. The length of time they've been in business, 5 years and 8 months. Their federal tax ID and their state Minnesota tax ID, their mailing address, contact information, all that kind of stuff. The business was started on January 1st of the year 2015. The principal applicant is Stu Jeffries. He was born on July 4th, 1776, and there's his social security number, info, and my friend Stu is 100% owner of the business. If it's more than one owner, anybody over 20% ownership needs to be listed on here, so you can put that together on that one as well. Primary lender to confirm that the business is in good standing financially. Stu Banks at First State Bank with their phone number, their banker's name, contact information on that stuff. If there's a secondary lender, if you have multiple bankers with that, you can fill that in, and any other lenders. So the next question here on the top of the next page, check all grants and forgivable loan funding sources that have been applied for. Well, Stu applied for the federal PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, and he received that, and that was for payroll expenses. We need you to list who you applied to, what you received, and what those were for. And the only thing Stu received it for was payroll, and that was all spent on payroll, and that was $5,000. was that. So again, that's part of our, we can't have a duplication of funds, so we need that information in there. How has your business adversely been impacted by COVID-19? They had no in-person dining for 2 months, pickup only. Sales fell 40% for those 2 months. Next question, was the business current on all obligations basically before coronavirus started, COVID started, on March 1st of the year 2020? Yes, they were current on all obligations. The number of jobs at the business when this started on March 1st, 1 full-time job and 6 part-time jobs. The number of jobs at the business at the time of the application, 1 full-time job and 5 part-time jobs. So they're down 1 person currently. And since March 1st of 2020, has the business's sales increased, decreased, or remained flat? And you can check the box and fill in the percentage. Stu's business has decreased over that period of time. He's down about 6% in sales year over year is what we're looking at for that time period. So here we have, please see attached documentation for expenses, and we'll go through that. On that, applicant certifies that all the information is true. You can read all that stuff. So you sign and date the application. The next thing we want to work through is the eligible expense worksheet. Pretty straightforward, pretty much easy to get along with here. So please list your cost for all of the following. So the first bullet point, the cost of constructing either temporary tents or permanent outdoor facilities to allow customers with proper social distancing. We have $1,000 worth of expenses for that. The next one, and every business will be slightly different. For this example, we're gonna use Stu's Pizza and what Stu did here. The conversion of an area, sidewalk, parking lot, or open area adjacent to the dining to accommodate outdoor dining. Stu had no expenses. Your business might, but Stu did not. Signage. Signage related to the operation of the business for customer safety. With COVID-19 guidelines, Stu had $250 worth of signage expenses. Checkout counter modifications, such as screens and buffers, the plexiglass kind of stuff that we see quite often for proper social distancing, that cost him $100. Indoor modifications, next bullet point, cost associated with the reduction of seating or coordinating customer space and public space to comply with social distancing, including the cost of storage facilities for excess seating and other materials. There was $50 worth of expense on that for Stu using this example. Customer hardware necessary to support remote work by other employees. Stu doesn't have any remote workers, so he had no expenses in this. Your business might, but in this example, there was none. Customer support, remote work by employees or upgrades to existing internet presence. Stu's not a business that uses a lot of internet, so there was no expenses for that. Again, yours might, but in this situation, example, there was no expenses for that. Personal protection equipment, sanitation stations, the cost to purchase masks, gloves, face shields, or protective garments to protect against the spread of the virus. Stu had $500 worth of expenses on that. Your business may have a different number, but that's our example here for this example. Sanitation supplies to clean equipment or furnishings, as well as supplies necessary for proper hygiene of employees and customers. $500 worth of expenses under that line item. Again, yours may have more or less or none, but in this example, it's $500. Disinfection equipment or contracts needed to dispense the disinfectant agents for safe operation of the business, that would be $250 for Stu. Again, yours may be different, higher or lower, or not on that line item. Rent or mortgage payments during the months of March, April, May, June, July, and August of the year 2020. So 6 months. Stu pays $1,000 a month in rent. Add those up, $6,000. Pretty simple on that. Whether you rent or have a mortgage payment, those expenses would be eligible. So again, in this example, $6,000. Utility payments. This could be telephone. This could be water, sewer, internet, gas, whatever your business may or may have for expenses. The expenses do need to be in the name of the business. So if your cell phone bill comes in Stu Jeffrey's name, that would not be eligible. Would need to be in the name of Stu's Pizza LLC or something close to that, or your real estate holding company if it is your water sewer bill or however that may be. But he had $3,000 worth of expenses. Add that all up, the grand total worth of reimbursable expenses is $11,650. You sign it and you date it. The next part is submitting documentation and proof of the expenses. So we're going to need you to submit your receipts. And I just hand wrote these, but you'll need to submit the actual receipts. Photocopies of those will work just fine. Don't need the originals, but photocopies will work just fine. So in this receipt, as we mentioned, Stu had $1,000 worth of expenses for outdoor seating. He had 4 picnic tables that he bought at XYZ Lumber. Again, those receipts need to be dated for this time period. But at 4 picnic tables at $250 each, so that's $1,000 worth of expense. He had some signage, again dated with the proper date. Signage expense was $250. Thank you. Your local hardware store, plexiglass and hardware to get that plexiglass installed was $100. Another helpful hardware, painter's tape to help cordon off tables and chairs that are not allowed for seating to preserve social distancing. $50 worth of that blue and green painter's tape that we all use when we end up painting the spare bedroom at our house. Janitor Supply Corporation, PPE equipment, face shields, face masks, gloves, etc., $500. Wet wipes, $500. Disinfecting bleach, $250. We've got $1,250 worth of expenses there. Your landlord, LLC, for your rent. Remember, Stu's paying $1,000 a month rent. So we've got March 2020, April 2020, May, June, July, and August of 2020, $1,000 a piece. We've got the receipt for $6,000 from your landlord, which is Landlord LLC. Your power company for your utility bills. In this case, power is $250 a month. Again, for times 6 months, we're at $1,500 from your local power company. Receipt for that. Your city's water sewer bill. Stu's Pizza has $250 a month every month for easy math in this example. But we've got $1,500 worth of water sewer bills for the months of March, April, May, June, July, and August of the year 2020. And then the business is required to submit their W-9 form. So that is a very simple, oversimplified version of an example for a for-profit business. If you've got a bookkeeping system where you keep your receipts and that stuff together, this shouldn't be too onerous to get the application filled out. Before we move on to the next example for a nonprofit, is there any questions, any thoughts, any concerns? Anybody wants to bring up anything? All right, hearing none, we will go on to our next demonstration, which is our nonprofit. So let me pull that up here a moment. And we will share our screen. So this is very similar in form to our for-profit, but we have a separate nonprofit application. The eligible applicants for this, a nonprofit must provide services within Renville County and use grant dollars must be used for reimbursement for initiatives undertaken in Renville County. So if you're a multi-county nonprofit, that is something you must follow and follow that very closely. Nonprofits must have been in operation prior to January 1 of the year 2020. Applicants' registration must be in good standing with the Minnesota Secretary of State. If they do own real estate, they must be current with their Renville County property taxes as of July 15th of the year 2020. Applicants must be in compliance with all local, state, federal rules and regulations. They must be able to demonstrate that they were adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic related to this peacetime emergency. Again, one thing we're concerned about is the duplication of funds. Reimbursements, again, like we talked about before, you can't be reimbursed by two different organizations for the same expenses. And then all applicants must have $250 minimum worth of eligible expenses. Ineligible expenses are nonprofits that primarily generate revenue from gaming activities and businesses that generate any or all from adult-oriented activities. You cannot use the funds to replace lost revenue. Other considerations, you must be compliant with all government regulations, and we reserve the right to limit the amount of funds available for this program and amend the programs at any time. Conflict of interest, again, for board members who are with Renville County and our HRA, EDA board members, employees, etc. Grant conditions, no more than one grant is available to any applicant, regardless if they have more than one location in Renville County. The maximum nonprofit grant is $5,000. There is no application fees or cost. No repayments shall be required. Grants are non-transferable unless approval from the Renville County HRA EDA Board. Grantees agree to provide Renville County HRA EDA with periodic updates on the performance of the business, or in this case, the nonprofit. Applicants must provide the IRS Form W-9 with their application to provide documentation for payment. You must use the eligible use expense worksheet that we'll go through here in a minute. Again, duplication of funds, and we'll talk a little bit more about that because there are some of our cities also are going to be doing some grants, and we'll talk about how that works here in just a few minutes. Again, the Renville County HRA reserves the right to deny funds or terminate any agreement under this grant program if you're found to be in violation of any conditions set forth. Again, and you agree to all grant applicants shall indemnify, save, hold harmless Renville County, our HRA EDA, its boards, committees, employees, consultants, and anyone acting on their behalf. Application process exactly the same. You can email it to us at grants@renvillecountyamn.com, or you can paper mail it to us. If you want to drop it off in person, please call ahead and make an appointment to do that. So we're going to take an example here. I guess let me pause. Are there any questions before we move forward? Bueller. All right, with that, let's run a sample application here as well. So our dummy nonprofit is called Second Spin Thrift Store, and they're set up as a 501c3 nonprofit. They've been in business for 4 years and 2 months. They fill it out just like the other form that we went through, the tax ID, federal ID number, their mailing address, contact information. What is their mission? They're a thrift store, and the profits go to scholarships for local students for college, which sounds like a very nice, noble use of those funds for this nonprofit. What is the impact of COVID-19 on the business? The store was forced to be closed for 2 months and had some lost revenue in this situation. That's how it's affected. What additional needs, if any, has this nonprofit addressed? They've donated a lot of their inventory to those in need. And how has the organization's revenue donations been impacted? That's been down, and their revenue and donations have been down 45% by this. What other resources have they applied for or received? They have applied for and received no funds, no PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, no federal EIDL, no SBEL, no small business grants from the state of Minnesota, nada. So if there would have been some, we would ask you to detail those. So for funding information, again, eligible grants from $250 to $5,000 are eligible. These grant applications and related attachments are considered public information. Applicant allows us to share. I should have mentioned that both the for-profit and nonprofit allow When you sign off, you allow the county to share this with your local city. The maximum grant, again, for for-profits is $7,500 from the county. Excuse me, $5,000 for nonprofits. If you have funds greater than those numbers, we strongly encourage you to include those in your application. While we may not be able to grant more than that, some of our cities have put dollars available or have made dollars available to assist. So when we put our information together, we will share that with the cities. So if you have 10,000 worth of allowable expenses for a for-profit business and we grant you 7,500, there's $2,500 of additional what I call headroom. Perhaps your city may be eligible to apply to make a grant as well. So that's why we asked you to do that information. The exact same for nonprofits. If you have 10,000 worth of expenses, our maximum grant is 5. We will encourage you to put all that on, and we will share that with your local city, as some cities may be making grants as well. So if you have questions on that, by all means, feel free to fire away on that one. Eligible applicants. Nonprofits can demonstrate a loss of income or decrease of demand or increase of demand for services. All eligible applicants must serve Renville County residents. They must be registered with the Secretary of State by January 1st. Grantees suffering financial loss, that information. Grantees expected to be in full operation after local and state emergency guidelines are rolled back. Applicant must not be operating in violation of state or federal or local laws. Must hold the appropriate license for their business. Grantee has not received financial assistance from any other program for the grant beyond what is covered. So again, you have to detail what other programs you received. All terms are subject to change at the discretion of the Renville County HRA EDA, and they have final authority to determine if a business is eligible or not. Again, that is how you submit, as with the other programs. So at the end, you sign that all the information is true and accurate. And let's move on to the application. So with our second spin thrift store, there was no temporary outdoor facility done. So there is no expenses. If yours does have an expense, that's where you would add that in or fill that in. Conversion of an area sidewalk for dining facility to accommodate outdoor seating or tables or fencing. This business had done none, or nonprofit had done none of that. Signage, they did have $100 worth of expenses for signage. Checkout counter modification, they put up plexiglass and with the related equipment to get that set on their checkout counter. Indoor modifications, again, this nonprofit had none. They had no computer hardware or software. They did have $250 worth of personal protection equipment, $250 worth of sanitation supplies, disinfecting equipment or contracts related to that. There was $250,000 worth of that. The business had $3,000 worth of rent or mortgage. They had $500 a month, so that comes up to $3,000. And utility payments were $2,000. So you'll just sum up, add up your allowable expenses, sign off, and here's the related documentation. Very, very, very similar, actually identical to what the for-profit business was needing. Your W-9 form for that, and your receipts. Here's a receipt from Signworks for $100. Again, those receipts must be dated in this time frame. Your hardware store for the plexiglass and parts to get that, your cash wrap covered, that was $100 for receipt. Janitor supply company at PPE equipment of $250. Your local grocery store, you bought cleaning supplies, bleach and whatnot there, $250. This doesn't have to be neat and tidy. You didn't have to buy it all in one crack. You could have bought $25 this week. Last week you bought $250 or $220. You know, it could be whatever, as long as the receipts add up to the amount. That's what we're looking for. Office supply company, they bought desk masks, wipes, $250 worth of that, their receipt. Your rent, real estate holding company is your landlord. You've got $500 a month rent. That comes out to $3,000. Your local power company for power, your receipt on that for your utilities, your city water and sewer bill, that all comes up. So that's very, very straightforward, I think, on that. Just need to fill that information in and submit your applicable receipts. So that's the oversimplified version of it. I stand for any questions.
Question. Yep. Does the utilities include internet and telephone?
Yes, as long as it's in the name of the organization. Yep.
Hey, Jordan, it's Jackie. I have a question. Sorry
Yes,
if you're done there. So we were exploring just like some new initiatives that maybe the foundation could help with in the community. So we haven't exhausted those expenses. We would use those grant funds because clearly our fundraising is down. So are we allowed to apply for something we haven't expensed yet? Sorry, and I hopped on really late.
By not expensed yet, what's your timeline for expensing?
Well, we wouldn't move forward with the project unless we secured the grant funds.
So I don't have the data at the tip of my tongue. Maybe you want to chat with me offline on this one.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I think the funds have to be expended in the next couple months. It isn't something that you can do in 2021 or 2022. The funds
Yeah, no,
have
we would exhaust the funds if we were awarded them.
Okay. Yeah, give me a call. Let's talk on details on that one. That might be a little bit tricky. And again, I'll
Okay.
send that offer to anybody. If you have additional questions or want to talk specifics, feel free to give me a call or zip me an email, and we're happy to do that. So, any other questions or thoughts or comments or concerns on that? And again, always happy if anybody has any questions down the road, just give me a call, zip me an email. Happy to walk you through that process, answer questions as best we can. Again, the deadline to apply is coming up on Friday, September 11th at 4 p.m. Our next Renville County HRA EDA Lunch and Learn is coming up a week from today at 12 noon, Wednesday the 9th. And we are going, rather than having a speaker on other topics, we're going to do a very similar program to what we just did here today, answering anybody's questions, walking through applications, sample applications such as this. So we are more than happy to, again, answer any questions you might have and make sure your application is complete as possible. We're not going to have a situation where you send it in, and if it isn't complete, you get turned down. If there's info in there that you not include that we need, we will be following up with you. And if you can turn that around as quickly as possible so we can approve those grants as quickly as we can. But we'll follow up if there's something missing or something not looking quite right, or if we have questions, etc. So know that we're happy to take a look at that. Any other questions? Nicole, I see you on the line. Any other questions for me?
Yeah, I do. You received a $1,000 grant with the initial Small Business Administration. Was that the economic injury disaster loan? We received that right back in like April.
Okay.
We use that for payroll. Would that?
Okay.
I just put that on the loan. Is that the EIDL? Is that what that is?
Yep, the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Yep, EIDL.
Okay, that was the first one that came out right at the very beginning of all of this. Okay.
Yep, I think you're right. Yep.
So I'll include that then on the application that we received, that we use that for payroll. So.
Yep, if you used it for payroll, you could use your rent or mortgage or utilities or PPE, that kind of stuff, plexiglass, supplies, that kind of stuff. Use that for this. But just note on there that you got a $1,000 EIDL loan, and that was used 100% for payroll expenses.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions, Nicole?
No, this is very good and very simple.
Try to keep it as simple as we can. So yeah, if anything else pops up, let me know. Shane, I see you're on the line from the city of Renville. Any questions for us, or?
No, I don't think so, Jordan. I'll probably talk with you offline just on some of the city portion of it and stuff and how we can work together on that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Jackie, any other questions?
No, I'll just set up a time to talk through, because I did have a question on behalf of the chamber too, so.
Excellent. Yep, happy to do that. Just let me know what works for you.
Okay.
Yep, awesome. Thank you. Susie, any questions for us?
I do have a question. I had a business reach out to me and they pay rent, but they don't have like a formal lease agreement, so that he was gonna just send in canceled checks. Is that sufficient, or do you need like a lease?
Canceled checks and or a receipt from the landlord, if that's possible.
Just write something up?
Write something up on the back of a sheet of paper kind of thing. I mean, nothing formal, fancy. And the canceled checks to prove it up, since there's no lease, that would be, yeah, just photocopies of those would be great.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions, Susie?
Not at this time. I'm sure I'll have some as businesses reach out.
Sounds good.
Jordan, I'm putting my chamber hat on as well. So we have a business that she has the mobile hair units. Would that be eligible for, because it's a business? It's not a home business.
I'm not sure what a mobile hair unit is. Let's talk on that one offline then. I'll
Okay.
need some more info on that one, see how we can do that. So awesome. Heidi, any questions?
No, I think they pretty much answered everything I was looking to ask. So we'll get it filled out and sent in.
Sounds good. If you have any questions, just give me a call or send me an email.
Okay, what is a good email to reach you on?
My email is jordanz, JORDAN and the letter Z, at
Okay.
renvillecountymn.com.
Okay, very good.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thank
that,
you, ma'am.
George. Thank you.
Thanks. Last call for questions. That's everybody on the line. Hearing none, I will let everybody get back to all their good work. On behalf of Renville County and Renville County HRA EDA, we thank you for all that you do for our local businesses and our local business community. And if there's anything we can do to assist, don't hesitate to give us a call or zip us an email. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.